Hi, AT from CNC at Home. I had a great opportunity recently to go to a fellow YouTuber's house and check out some of the equipment that they have there. The channel is called Making It Happen. I'll put a link right up here. If you haven't seen their channel, go take a look. They're just getting started. They've got some really cool videos about a variety of things. One of the reasons that Leon and I got together, other than we know each other, is he and his wife Natasha bought a laser. Now, this is the CNC at Home channel. Yes, this is at their home. However, this laser is enormous. It's, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but the working area is something like 1,000 centimeters. It's bigger than that. Anyway, it's essentially about 5 feet wide, the working area, and it has a pass-through. So yeah, I think it was 1,600 centimeters on the width, and then the depth was about 1 meter. Yeah, but there's a pass-through. So you could take a 4x8 sheet of plywood and run this right through the machine, not a problem. So just do, essentially a little more or a little less than half of it at a time. I've seen pictures of the laser machine when they picked it up. There's a video for that. I'll put that up here as well, which is kind of an interesting story. And seeing it in person really hit home how big this thing is. I thought it was much smaller. I've seen pictures. I saw Leon and Natasha standing in front of it, sitting on it, leaning up against it, and it just never struck me how big this thing is. It's very cool. It's a 150 watt CO2 laser, and so we can kind of talk about that a little bit, how a CO2 laser works. It's different than an LED laser. Essentially, there's a big tube in there. It's called a resonator, and there's electronics that happen that excite the CO2 molecules in there, and they start bouncing around, and there's some of them that ends up bouncing back and forth. And as they do that, they can control, once there's enough energy in there, it comes out of the business end of the resonator, and it hits a mirror, bounces into the working area where it hits another mirror on the gantry. That comes over, hits another mirror, and then that bounces it down through a lens to focus this and down onto the working area. There's also air assist on this. It's pretty cool. Underneath the working area they have an expanded honeycomb metal, which is something that I'm looking at adding to my laser one of these days as well. That is really cool. You can then draw air down through that honeycomb versus the way that I have it. I just have a box over the laser and just draw air through wherever it comes in and suck it out the top. So if I get the honeycomb, I can get things reversed, actually draw this stuff down through there. Anyway, that's a future project. I'm going to try and cobble together a video here. The footage was kind of haphazard. I started recording when I got there, and there's a lot of handheld. There is a little bit, one of the projects where the camera is on a tripod, so that'll be a little bit stable. See some of the other equipment they have. We'll mainly focus on the laser and talk about its capabilities. We'll also talk about the rotary chuck that they have for this machine, which is a little different than the rotary roller that we have on our machine. And we'll talk about the differences between them. Essentially, they do the same job. They take something and they rotate it for burning with the laser. The rotary roller that I have, the item just sits on it and it rolls. With the rotary chuck, there's actually a chuck on one side that can either grab something from the outside or can go in and pull out and hold something pretty solidly. And then like a lathe, then there's a point on the other side that you can put in there to hold the other end still. So then you rotate the thing around. So we'll take a quick look at that. We did burn a couple projects. Let me grab one of them here. There's this mug that was just plain glass, and we put it in there, just grabbed an image off the internet and burned it on there. It turned out really nicely. This is going to go for my son. He likes the American flag kind of stuff. Before I got there, Leon had burnt a mug for me with the CNC at Home logo on it, and that turned out real nicely. So I'm going to look forward to filling this up a little more than 12 ounces. So, all right, he took just an insulated mug and burnt the CNC logo on it. So that was kind of another cool project that we did, and I'll have video for this as well, so we can see that. Just to kind of explain how that worked, is he put this in their rotary chuck, and he basically had the chuck on the inside, and it expands out when you turn the key. It expands out and holds it, and then it essentially, like I do, it just and the laser just came back and forth burning along the way, and it did a really nice job. The glass mugs were done the same way. So let's get into some of this video. They use Lightburn, same that I do, and there were a couple things I was able to point out, which was kind of cool, that they could turn on with their version of Lightburn to make things a little easier. So we'll see a little bit of that. Another project was making a Kleenex box cover. This is something that I found online. I found the file for it. I will link that down in the description, so if anybody else wants to go grab that, they can. It's really kind of cool. So we'll see that burning, and hopefully we'll have a chance to get that glued together. There's some other things that we did there other than the box. I didn't get to see him burn this, but there's a rubber band gun project that Leon burned for me. He let me bring that home, and so hopefully a future video will be putting that together. The Kleenex box, the actual assembly of that, will probably also be a future video, but we'll see how it was burned in this video. It was just 3mm craft plywood, and it was really kind of a neat design. Let's get to some of the footage. I'll quick introduce Leon and his wife Natasha, and we'll go from there. Here's a picture of Leon and his wife Natasha. We really didn't go through and do an interview, so we don't have any footage of that, but as we were talking, we will get some footage of them talking about different projects they're working on and such.
From here, I can say I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to frame it. Now, because there's material underneath it, we can tell it to start. We've got it set up to cut by, what do you call it? It's going part by part, and it's doing
by
group, and then secondary by layer. So each group, this part
Okay, so
would
that's
be
each one completely
group.
before it goes to the
This
next.
would be a second
Okay.
group, third group, and inside the group is doing by layer. So if we look at layers, the first layer that it does is it does a layer of green, which is at a power of 15 and a speed of 200. That's an engraved setting. Then it's going to cut interior. This will be interior cuts, and this would be exterior cuts. And if you see, purple is your exterior,
Right.
red is your interior cuts, and green is going to be your score mark or your engraving.
And we like to cut interior things before exterior things because
What?
they'll drop.
What?
And then it'll be out of focus.
Yeah.
So we got just
Which is nice. I mean, I really like the here because you can move those up and
Yeah.
down, so you don't have to initially program it that way. You can just get it done and then think about that later. Now, how do
As
I
long as
actually
you
want
remember
to
to
execute?
actually do it.
Well, yeah. After the first burn, it's like, oh, I forgot to do that.
additional settings. We have air assist on, and we're outputting this, which means it'll actually do this command. We get our speed, our min, and our max.
Is the air assist actually then run through this controller? Is that it will turn it on and off?
Yep, there's an
Okay.
air solenoid, and
Okay.
it only fires air when it's calling for air.
Okay.
So we should be good to go.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's really cool about this laser compared to mine. Mine, you really have to worry about ISIS protection. Because that laser really goes everywhere.
Around the back of the laser, here's the air compressor that is used to drive the air assist. There's a solenoid that turns that air on and off as it's needed for the job. Next to that, we have the cooler. This runs water through the resonator tube and cools it down and pipes it back in. That keeps that resonator nice and cool. Next to that, we have our exhaust fan. The exhaust fan pulls air down through that honeycomb metal table and pumps it out the window. Keeps the air inside nice and clear.
So is this chiller just essentially like a little air conditioner thing?
Yep.
It's just a heat exchanger more or less?
So they got 3 different versions they sell. They got the version that's basically a 5-gallon bucket with a little aquarium pump,
Right.
that you throw your ice cube or your cooler bag in, and that recirculates the water. When it warms up, you're no longer cooling. They got the version that's the 3000 or the 3200 series. That's when you have a fan, a radiator, and a little reservoir that basically circulates, and the fan kind of keeps it, but it can only cool down to your air temperature.
Right.
In the 5000 and the 5200 series, they actually have a compressor, a freon compressor, and a water pump, and it basically can cool it cooler than, so we have it set at 20 degrees Celsius, which should give us our 8,000 hours out of our laser tube.
Okay.
In
Awesome.
theory. So the next thing we're going to play with is, you want to burn another, what would you like this mug to say? Another mug like you got, or do you want to do something else on it?
If you had something else, I'm just thinking something for Warren. Well, you know, just even like if you had like an American flag.
Yep.
Then have a mummy that it has skin on it. There's skin over the skull.
So in order to run the rotary chuck, we have to go to user settings. We have to tell it to enable rotary. We turn it on, and then we have to tell it the diameter of the mug. So this is 94 millimeters. We tell it's 94 millimeters, and we tell it to write to the Rodita controller, which is.
Now, can you put your caliper on there again, real quick? No, your finger caliper.
So that's all set. We wrote it to the controller, so now the controller knows. And when we hit jog, it actually spins it nice and slow. So we can now, for focusing it, we're going to just manually focus it, running the bed up and down automatically.
Okay.
I also have to tighten this at some point. That tightens the 3-jaw, which is surrounded in duct tape.
Okay, and so you're adjusting
Opens
it
and closes
out.
it.
You're
Yep.
adjusting it out though to hold this.
Yep,
in
just
place.
like a lathe chuck. You can
Okay.
grab it from the inside or the outside. We got 1, 2, 3 blocks, making it parallel to the bed. And then we run the bed up and down. So let's work on artwork now.
So essentially, the way you have your rotary set up is you just have that blank in the end
Yep.
that centers it
Yep.
on this side, and then on the chuck, you just have it come out in tension from the inside.
Yep. So if you see how this is orientated, this box, well, this box is actually a little bit longer. There's another one on the bottom side of this. But if I would have drawn that, when I frame it, it would go around and hit the handle.
Right.
So this lines up with this. There's an imaginary box that's 90 degrees that I don't put any artwork in this box. And then this box right here is kind of like this shape right here.
Right. Okay.
So I got an art spot here, and I spin around, I got an art spot here, which is this box. And it's large enough. It's going to look a little bit shrunk, but it's a wide enough picture that if I rotate it 270 degrees,
Okay, so is yours 0 within Lightburn? Is it your upper right corner?
it's this point right here.
Okay.
But if you see, these are kind
Yeah,
of
stars. Yep.
pixelated.
Yeah, just it's a lower enough resolution image. It's just not
Yeah.
quite picking those up.
So that's kind of what we're going to be left with.
That's not bad though.
And then
I mean, just
will-
considering that. I mean, the resolution of what the laser is going to be actually able to etch in the glass for detail, that'll probably look good.
And if we turn this red, now it's going to do a fill layer. It should be at the same power setting. And
There's a display option where you can actually see it filled on your screen. I don't know. I really like that.
how do you get to that?
It's, I remember where it is. It's under Window of all places, and go down right there.
Fill coarse, fill smooth.
Yep, fill smooth. Your computer's probably powerful enough, and then you can see it filled right on the screen
Nice.
as you're working with it.
Very cool. And this tie looks sharp, and the stars look good enough.
Mhm.
And they'll be small enough on there you won't be able to tell that they're not perfect.
And once you have a highlight, you can use your arrow keys and the control arrow. Just FYI, the arrow keys move more, and the control arrow just moves it a little bit finer. Nice.
If we go control, select them both. Now we can tell them we want them to, oh no, it's this one. Now they're perfectly centered off of each
Nice.
other.
Okay. No, but it shouldn't frame anything that, well...
They'll still frame it if it's not outputting it. But I just made the box smaller. See, those are things if I spent more, I had this file created perfectly, and I lost it somehow,
Okay.
going back and forth between two computers and all that.
Sure.
But right now, this is centered pretty good to go. Even if I selected just the red.
Now, I was gonna say it did just tap the handle though when it came back.
So that's just the red. So I might slide the whole artwork up a little bit.
So with the glass, we actually are getting some
Visible.
a lot more than we were with the wood.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's find out.
Got it.
Scrubby.
That's for you, Warren. Yeah, that takes it right off. Nice.
So it still feels a little bit scratchy.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as nice as the at-home CNC mug, but that's a lot to compete with.
So for the most part, those all came out.
They fall up, but there's got to be that one.
It's always that one guy.
Yep.
Wants to be stubborn.
But very nice circular pattern and very three-dimensional, 3D looking. A little bit of play, but not much. I must have got the focus a little bit better on this one. The closer you get the focus point to being just so, the tighter they're going to fit.
Sure.
Tell me if you can see it. We go to menu, user settings. And go. So that should all be set up now.
Okay.
Fix the 0 and the Z.
Okay, so you're just approximating with the size of that
When
piece.
we bought it, they gave us a 6mm blank, and we figured 6mm. If I hold it the right way, it says 6, not 9. Maybe it did say 9mm, but that's not 9mm.
No.
Maybe it is. So
Maybe it is.
this is the piece they wanted. But when I do a ramp test, so I put a piece of longboard in there and I put it at a slight angle and I run it over, I figured out this was a better thickness. This is when the laser was at the smallest.
Okay.
And if you go slightly lower, or I guess this is probably when the lasers are small, so if you go slightly smaller than that, now you got the center of the laser at that. So instead of getting a V shaped on the side of your wood being at an angle, you get like a double V where it ducts in and out.
Oh,
or no, the other way around, an hourglass shape.
Oh,
Because
okay.
your focus point's in the center of the wood.
Oh, right, and then it spreads out. Well,
It'll
yeah.
focus
Okay.
point, and then
Yeah,
it
I got
continues
it.
on below. So I'm just approximating it.
Right.
We normally have this automatic Z height, but I broke the nut, and I think I talked about it in our last
You did,
video.
yeah. You said something in the video about that.
And you have air assist on. Okay, CO2 is we frame this. And we're gonna do one better. So because this is not perfectly cylindrical, we're gonna prop this end up.
Oh, okay.
So if I grab two of these, stick them right at the feet. One, way more.
There we go.
One right here, and nothing on this side. But I
Right.
should make it fairly parallel as we kind of eyeball it and go back and forth over the top. Because it's not a curve, it's a curve, not a straight line.
Right.
You can try it, it'll be okay.
And what are the parameters that you're using on this?
We have our power at 45%, and we have our speed at 200 millimeters per second.
Per minute.
200 millimeters per second. That's how fast it's moving. In this one, you still smell it a little bit, but it's
Right.
not horrendous. And if we weren't filming, we'd maybe let it run longer because we're not worried about hearing ourselves talk. But there it is.
Nice. When does the genie pop out then?
CNC at home.
Nice.
Now we got to give you the finishing touches.
Well, this video is getting a little long, so I think we'll cut it off there for this time. In the next video, we'll kind of pick up where we left off. We'll maybe dig into the laser just a little bit more, kind of look at some of its functionality, and look at some of the other footage, some of the other things they're doing over there at making it happen. So I'd like to thank Leon and his wife Natasha for hosting me over there. We had a nice little barbecue out on the grill, ate out in the front yard. That was a lot of fun, and just kind of talking about stuff. So thank you again to you guys for having me out there. I've been invited back, so we'll have to do that sometime, go out and see some more stuff that's going on out there. If you like this type of content, let me know. Like this video, that tells me something. Also, if this is the kind of content that interests you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That helps us out. So thank you again, and have fun with your CNC at Home projects.
All right, so to start with, what is the brand of this? Or does it even have a brand? Is it...
With CO2 style lasers, it's important to have the mirrors aligned just so
Oh,
you get the
yeah.
laser pointed where you want it to and not burning a hole in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can show them in here. There's some spots where we've missed.
Oh, I don't know.
You show
I don't know
it
if
that
that'll...
way. At the white.
Oh, there. Okay.
I mean, I think it would be awesome to keep the router and have Leon finish it instead of selling it, but I don't know when that might happen. So now we gotta pour a concrete pad so we can have the hot tub outside.
Outside, yes. Some people call it conflict. We call it what?
Oh,
Heated
fellowship.
fellowship.
Heated fellowship. There you
It
go.
That's how
would
they
be much
enter-
more heated in a nice 4-season porch in a hot tub in the winter.
Oops.